These fish right now are actually in about 30 feet. I don't want to target those schools, mostly because those are too deep. What happens, they get that barrow sickness when you bring them up through the water column too fast. No matter how slow you fight them, it's really no good, and they die. Even if they start swimming back down to the bottom, the mortality rate is pretty high. So right now we're going to try to target schools in about 21 to 25 feet of water, but we're going to do it with live minnows. One of my favorite rigs is slip bobber rig. This rig, actually I used it for those microplastics, fishing for microplastics in like 20 to 22 feet of water. We're going to do the same exact setup, only this time we're going to tie on one of these zone lock Aberdeen hooks. Here it is. So this is there's my Aberdeen hook. There's my Aberdeen hook right there. And then about, I think it's like a foot above it, I got this little setup going on. This is a size 12 barrel swivel. And I have a 1/4 ounce bullet weight pegged. Well, actually I'm going to raise the bobber stop because that's going to be my stop for the slip bobber system. You can have two of them if you want. If you wanted to peg this weight right to the swivel, it doesn't really matter. But this thing is going to shoot that minnow down there really fast. It's going to enable you to fish fast with a slip bobber rig in that 20 to 25 feet of water. Some of them are going to still be stacked up on that hard to soft bottom transition, but a lot of them are going to be pushed into that mud or silt flat, feeding on insect larvae and chasing baitfish. So we're going to get this slip bobber setup tied on, rigged up, put a live minnow on, we'll catch some fish. There they are. These are just set up in a big silt flat right here. This is just a big mud flat. So I can get that better picture for you. They're right below the boat, yeah, pretty much. 20 feet out. And they're just balled up real close to the bottom. Alright, they are pretty much right underneath the boat here. So let's grab a minnow real quick. This is kind of the depth I wanted them in, that 22 feet. They're not going to get that barrow sickness. There's a high likelihood they're going to survive if I catch them this deep. Usually once you get past like 25 to that 30-foot range, it gets a little dicey. Just going to hook this guy right under the lip. Not into the brain though, you want them wiggling. There they come. There he is. Got him that time. Crappie number one. Choke that bait. Now this is probably the most difficult pool of crappie to actually catch because they're suspended in the middle of nowhere and they're really tight. Probably the best way to try and catch these fish would be to drift something else, but when you got the live scope, and you can put it right on them. Here they come. There he is. Right below the boat. Bunch of cookie cutter 10-inch fish. A lot of you don't trust me on the 10 inches. So throw him here. No, he's 9.5. He got me. He's 9.5. He's going back though. Need new minnow. Flip this guy out. And what that weight does, it shoots it down to that depth that they're at. I mean, they're only at 2-3 feet off the bottom, but as you see, they'll really come off the bottom and come get a minnow. And that's all you're trying to do. You're trying to fish fast, get that minnow straight down there to that depth, because they're not suspended. Here we go. There he is. Bobber down. Yeah, these are all cookie cutter. 9 to 10 inch fish. Solid eaters if I was keeping them. I'm not going to keep these guys though, because I can give them back. Let's drop in again. There's a ton more down there. Like I said, these fish are going to suspend either real tight to the bottom, or they're going to suspend off normally that hard to soft bottom edge, but right now these fish are pushed way off that hard bottom edge into this mud flat. They're probably feeding on a lot of insect larvae, but if they get the chance to get a live minnow or some sort of shad or shiner or something, they're not going to pass it up. These waves definitely help move that minnow too. There we go. Finally, I was a little shallow, I think. Here we go, there's one. Yep. Kind of give it a little slack and reel through that slip stop. That way that stop won't slide up on you like that. He's a little guy. He's like a 7-incher. Oh, he took my minnow too. Gotta grab that new minnow. Gotta lower it by about 2 feet. People ask, how do you know that without the live scope? You're constantly checking a slip bobber rig. If you don't have some sort of way to tell either on sonar with a live scope, or you might be able to see it on like 2D sonar or something, but you're fishing right under the boat with it. But you're constantly checking to make sure that slip didn't move. There's really no way around it. I use rubber bobber stops. I like these the best. Those yarn ties, they seem to move the most. They seem to slide up and down the most. Oh, here it comes. Here it goes. There he is. Oh no, he had it. You take it? No, he's still there. But in order to constantly check it, like I was saying, how do you know if you're at the right depth without sonar? You're guessing based on your rod length, especially when you're fishing in this deep of water. You're measuring out. This is an 8-foot rod. I like using 8-foot rods with the slip bobber. So I'm gonna go, twice the rod length and then plus about 4 feet. That gets me to about 20 feet. Let's see if we can get one here real quick. There's that school. There I am dropping down. That minnow's dropping the slowest. See that minnow sliding down there? Now it's on top of him. Here comes one. Yep, there we go. Got to reel through that stop. A little better one. Choked it. It's the one thing about when you got this heavier weight. Get this guy back. It's the one thing about when you got this heavier weight. These crappie are going to get away with that negative bite a little bit. Because you got that heavier weight kind of pinning that bobber down. You could throw a split shot kind of right above the hook if you wanted to. This guy's dead, but I'm going to see if I can get him. We got enough wave action sometimes that if you get these super aggressive crappie flying off the bottom, sometimes they'll hit it. Otherwise I'll have to get a new minnow. People ask, does that rubber bobber stop get in the way of casting? Today it's been frustrating. It's because I got a smaller size reel. Usually if you go up in reel size, you don't have an issue with it. If you're using a 2000 size reel, this is a 1000 size, typically what I use, but today's been a frustrating day. Smack it, buddy. There I am dropping in. Here they come, rising up. Smack it, dude. Come on, bud. I gotta drop it about 2 feet. Constantly checking that stop. Just because you're slip bobber fishing doesn't mean you're not working. There I am dropping in on top of that school. The school is packed tight. Here comes one. There he is. The school is packed tight together. These cold fronts will do that to these fish up north. They're gonna go out deep and they're gonna pack super tight. Like that school is no more than five feet wide. I think they got tighter now that I've started fishing for them. Now, if you didn't have live scope, but you had at least some sort of 2D sonar, these fish are deep enough to where you could actually go right over the top of that school and try and hold there. I say try because this wind is terrible right now. But that's usually what a lot of guys do during the fall. They're deep enough that you could vertically fish for them. A lot of people actually use ice fishing jigs or ice fishing rod and reel setups, not jigs, ice fishing rod and reel setups because they can fish them directly below the boat. It's a lot easier to control a 3-foot rod than an 8-foot rod if you're trying to jig directly below your transducer on your trolling motor or on the transom. There must be a little piece of cover. I don't know if it's like somebody might have put down a really small Christmas tree or something down there. These crappie seem to be holding a little tighter than those other ones are just moving. Chasing food. That's all they're doing this time of year. Here we go, smack it. Here it comes. There he is. There we go. That one is gonna end it. Tired of battling this wind. Not big ones, but these are all pretty much all cookie cutter. What is this guy? Probably another 9 3/4, 10 incher. 9.5. 9.5. They're all about that size. 9 to 10 inches. All right, so that is that's the rig. A little more complex than a regular slip bobber setup. That's also what I love about these. These are these rod and bobs. See how easy that was? You just take it on and off the line. If you wanted to go to a drift setup, just drift in a minnow right off the bottom versus the slip bobber thing, you just slide it right into the line like that. There you go, you got your bobber set up. Take it right off if you want. This is the 8-foot rod, 8-foot ACC. This is the only rod I use for slip bobber rigs pretty much. Today definitely had some issues with that slip stop. It happens. I'm gonna be honest with you, it happens. You know, depending on the day. Sometimes these slide more than others. You're gonna have the problem with the yarn ones. These rubber bobber stops are actually, I've found personally, don't have as many problems as the yarn. The yarn definitely, like, that one's the most frustrating, is those yarn slip stops. The one thing I will say about this rig, you got to make sure to flip it out so that the minnow goes first instead of the weight, okay? Because otherwise you will tangle. So you got to keep that minnow a little bit further away from the boat when you're pitching it out, so that weight kind of falls straight down and doesn't catch that minnow. You might have seen it in the video today. That minnow was caught on the bobber a couple times. This is a 1,000 size PC Fun reel. You could probably go to a 2,000 size if you wanted to. Typically I use a 1,000 size. This is a great deep water rig, like you saw, 22 feet of water. These crappie are gonna be here probably, these crappie will probably be here throughout ice fishing. These are deep enough and they're pushed off that hard to soft bottom edge to where they're probably gonna be here throughout ice fishing season. I'm gonna leave the entire setup below. You can check it out. Appreciate you watching. If you got any comments or questions, you can post them in the comment section below as always, or you can message me on either Facebook or Instagram. If you want to keep up to date on what I'm doing, sometimes I get behind on the YouTube videos, so you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram. That's how you can keep up to date on where I'm fishing. We'll see ya.